But what are the linchpins in this big system that government is using for surveillance, that corporations are using for surveillance, that have made them so defensible, so hard to unseat? What are we doing about them that they can work, and what are we not doing that we should be doing about it?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I really love your insight about how the corporate big players and the government big players are now kind of aligned in knowing everything about us, with us having very little ability to know about them. And I see that all over. And to me, that's one of the biggest issues, is this, especially in the national security context, the opaqueness, right? The lack of the ability to have any democratic understanding of what the government's doing, much less the ability to control it. And seeing that kind of reified and crustified and made harder and harder to break, is I think one of the real important insights that kind of feels geeky, transparency and national security, the state secrets privilege, but really is the linchpin to the idea that we have a democratic system. And I think the other things that become a piece of that, when you think about it, they all come down to democracy and personal power, right? If we're unable to really vote, and the elections, as you say, are really two flavors of the same thing, and there's no way to break through that, that makes it really hard. It makes it really hard for for anyone to break out of that, because the vote is one of the ways that we can change course. And I think that in the United States right now, you can see a pretty big effort by people who don't want to change course to try to limit the way people can vote, so that can't happen. And around the world, we're seeing efforts as well, the growing authoritarianism and the difficulty that the forces of democracy are having to try to have influence and change course. And, to me, it really does come down to the shrinking number of places. The internet wasn't designed to just have five big companies and the five eyes, the five big, governments of the world really, calling the shots about what the rest of us got to do. In fact, it was designed exactly the opposite, right? The idea that you could take down one node and the rest would survive, right? The kind of old DARPA story about the internet. True or not, that's, I think we all in the 90s at least thought that was right. And to see that shrink and shrink and shrink is disturbing, and to see all the different ways in which that is shrinking. So I don't know that there's a clear moment, but those are the things I look for to see when things are shifting. In the United States, again, I'm an American lawyer. We have three branches of government. Are those three branches of government serving as a check against each other, or are they just confirming each other? And I worry that we're headed into the latter instead of the former, which was the idea. What other sources of power and authority are there that we as individuals can harness to change direction? Now, the good news is I believe that humans are amazingly innovative. And, one of the things that's interesting right now, I mean, we're at this conference for Orchid, is, people really digging back into the internet and trying to redistribute things, trying to make power go back out to the edges instead of the center, a resistance to this idea that platforms are these, pillars where they can control everything, but really more talking about protocols and interoperability, and how do we do that in a privacy protective way, which, by the way, we can. I think those are, that's where we take heart, and especially, the original think different, idea, came from Steve Jobs, but it was attractive to a lot of people because I think the early people on the internet, especially, they didn't really fit in, and they were looking for ways to go together and hit and build things and build community. And so, the nice thing about that is it wasn't that long ago. And we can get there. Moses didn't come down off of stone tablets and say there will only be Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft. So luckily we can redo that, but it is going to take work, and it's going to take recognizing things. And sometimes I think people are kind of a little like the boiling frog, right? Where it's hard to see what's happening, or it's overwhelming. and people give up and they engage in privacy nihilism. There's just nothing I can do. I'm just a tiny, insignificant thing, so there's nothing I can do. Both of those are dangerous ways of thinking, and there are lots of people who would like you to think that way. Hopefully our job is to try to help people, see their power and feel it in these